Yeah, it's a wet, cold, and drizzling afternoon here in the city of Ibadan. At 2:25 p.m. Nigerian time, the studios of King 103.9 FM, and of course, it's time once again to bring you that exciting show on radio, World Review, where we're going to be breaking down the news that made the headlines throughout the course of the week. We are going to be intimating you with the happenings in the foreign scene and the international political scene. We break down the news for you so as to have a perfect understanding of what's going on around the world. Comes up every Friday, 2:15 p.m. Nigerian time to 3 p.m. Nigerian time. But of course, sometimes Abolade Sodiq and the news crew decides to, most of the time, take a larger chunk of our minutes and of course leave us with a mega 30 minutes to try to break down news from all around the world. Yeah, Abolade Sodiq and the news crew. Thanks very much. My name is Ajibola Samuel. Yes, we are going to be running, down the various news that made the rounds throughout the course of the week. My name is Ajibola Samuel. Always a pleasure doing this. Thanks for joining us once again. I'm not alone on the show today. I have a very wonderful colleague of mine, and we run this together. Good afternoon, young man.
Yeah, it's good to be in the studios and take a look at you, man. Fine time spent already. I hope the day's beautiful. Catch us as we're all.
Yeah, without further ado, let's get the show on the way. The news crew already decided that 30 minutes should be enough for us, so let's try as much as possible to rush things and see if we can make a sense out of the various news that we've got from the African continent and, of course, from the world this week. Okay, we start from the African continent just like we do every Fridays on the show. And starting from the African continent, let's start from Mali and of course bring you the developments just like we reported last week on the show about the second coup in Mali in the space of 9 months. Assimi Goïta, who happens to be the leader of the coup, actually planning a second coup, like I said, in 9 months. And he abducted or, dethroned the president and the prime minister. And as it stands right now, Mali junta leader, of course, Assimi Goïta, has been sworn in officially as the president of the country. Mali coup leader, Colonel Assimi Goïta, was sworn in on Monday as the president of a transitional government, solidifying his grip on power in the West African nation after carrying out what is said to be the second coup in 9 months. The inauguration ceremony in the capital, Bamako, came as Mali faces increasing isolation from the international community over the junta's power grab. Already, we said last week, the African Union and of course ECOWAS has suspended Mali, but we all know this is what's going to happen. He dethroned the two leaders, announced himself as the president, and what happened on Monday was an official confirmation and swearing in of Colonel Goïta as the president of Mali and of course the leader of the transitional government.
I would like to solemnly declare here and now my firm determination to take up these challenges. But all this is only possible with the cohesion and solidarity that have always characterized our nation and which are being put to the test. On the basis of the roadmap, it is a question of implementing the actions necessary for the success of the transition, particularly the organization of credible, fair, and transparent elections on the scheduled dates. I would like to reassure, in your name, the sub-regional and regional organizations and the international community in general, that Mali will honor all its commitments for and in the best interests of the nation.
Yeah, the voice of Colonel Assimi Goïta there, the now president of course, Mali. You heard his voice there when he was taking his swearing oath and was granting his first, should I say, speech as the president of the country. Of course, he has shown commitment to leading the transitional government, and he has made the people know that he's actually going to be organizing an election to hand over properly to the democratically elected government. So nothing much to say from Cameroon. We've talked from Mali. We've talked about different developments. This is just to confirm something that we've always known. Moving forward quickly, Sudan protests and of course some couple of crises and rumblings in Sudan over fuel prices as they double. Sudan fuel prices doubles as all subsidies on fuel are being removed. Sudan has removed all subsidy for imported fuel, doubling the price of petrol and diesel. The price of petrol will rise from 150 Sudanese pounds per litre to 290 while diesel will now cost 285 Sudanese pounds a litre from 125 pounds, according to the Finance Ministry. It said subsidies cost the country $1 billion a year, and the ministry also added that despite the latest increase, the price of fuel in Sudan remains among the lowest in Africa. Previous prices increases have actually sparked protests, and this, is not an exception. Okay, we'll take a quick trip to Sudan right now, and we'll get to listen to one or two indigenous or citizens of that land actually coming out to, talk about their grievances against this new doubling in fuel prices as a result of fuel subsidy removal.
The increase has not been studied because raising the price of a litre from 128 to 290 will lead to a threefold increase for the consumers. So if a driver normally asks for 3,000, we'll ask for 9,000, and thus the people will be directly affected. This increase is necessary, and according to what the Minister of Finance, Mr. Jibril, said at the conference yesterday, we are convinced and wish him success, and we will bear it. And his speech is logical, and we hope that this will be the last increase in fuel prices.
Yeah, of course, fuel subsidy is not new. It's not a new, term to Africans and of course Nigerians. If you're in Nigeria, you definitely know what fuel subsidy and it's all about. Actually, this is another country that boasts of having crude oil in abundance. The Sudan National Petroleum Corporation, Sudapets. Africa. Abundance of oil, and we still go ahead to import oil, and we come to double prices in the name of removing fuel subsidies.
Now, it's appointed to the mismanagement and the failure in governance and how irresponsible our leaders in Africa are. With human and mineral resource in abundance, you go to some of the countries that don't have resources, yet the country is well managed. And here we are, abundance of human and mineral resources, and yet we can manage, we mismanage, we embezzle. And so it's a pointer to the decadence and to the level of decay, to the level of corruption. Africa is sinking. It's a free-falling system. It's not just systematic, it's free-falling almost to a pitless bottom. It is sad for the people of Sudan. I think they need to come and ask us, Nigeria, here what we're feeling. It is sad for Africa. Every time it's all one disappointment after another, all boiled down to irresponsible leadership. When will Africa get it right?
Yeah, when will Africa get it right? A question that it's not mine to answer. Yeah, moving forward quickly, leaving, of course, Sudan. Let's talk about another development from the news that we've been reading for the past couple of weeks right now. The admittance of Germany to have committed genocide in Namibia from 1904 to 1908 in what is known as the Nama Irero genocide. And of course, we've been talking about it for some couple of weeks right now. The German nationals actually admitting that they were guilty, and they decided to pen an apology, and also decided to pay in cash and of course in developmental works 1.1 billion euros over the course of 30 years. Now, I remember when we kept talking about it then, kept talking about it not being enough. Well, it seems some people share my sentiments in Namibia as a country. Betrayal, this is the term that they called it, and of course, Namibian opposition members of parliament slam Germany's genocide deal. Opposition politicians in Namibia have slammed the government's deal with Germany as legislators in Windhoek began debating the planned reconciliation agreements under which Berlin officially acknowledged an early 20th century genocide by colonial troops and agreed to a $1.3 billion US settlement. The fund, which will go into developmental projects, are meant to be distributed across a 30-year period. And of course, Prime Minister Sarah Kungogwewa Amadiala opened on Tuesday a rowdy parliament debate by outlining the details of the agreement. The issue is indeed a sensitive one, she said. Her calls for unity interrupted by heckling from members of parliament. And she was trying to, make people calm down in the parliament. It is important that we do not become divided over this issue, but remain united as a nation in pursuing it until its logical conclusion. So, of course, the Namibian parliament came out to say this is more like, okay, I'm looking for the word to call it right now, but they called it a betrayal and they said they're not going to take it. And of course, the Namibian vice president also came out to say that Germany's offer to fund projects in Namibia worth more than €1 billion over 30 years to atone for its roles in genocide and property seizures in the then colony more than a century ago. He said no amount of money in any currency can truly compensate the life of human being. That is according to the vice president of course, Namibia. Let's take a quick trip to Namibia and get to listen to the dissenting voices or people who are opposed and think that this betrayal is this deal is actually a slap on the Namibians people's face and a betrayal.
When the Hake administration came to run the country now, it decided that it will be state-to-state negotiations. We have opposed that position ever since 2015. Make it very clear that we need to be a direct participants. And it is because of that exclusion as to be at the table of negotiations, describing what we need as victims. And remember, the Namibian government does not speak for the Botswana Namas, neither does it speak for the Namas and Hereros who are citizens of South Africa, who are there because of the genocide. It only speaks for itself. We have know our losses and our pains. It cannot be discussed by proxies. We have been excluded even in terms of the measures that need to be put in place to address our needs. That's one thing. Us know our pains.
Yeah, according to this young man or this member, is actually saying the negotiation shouldn't be done by proxies. They should be having the conversation and the negotiations with the leaders of the Nama and the Herero people directly.
Secondly, the Namibian government has not been an egalitarian government. The government has not been treating all Namibians equally. We know the distribution of these resources of this country are not equally distributed among all citizens. We have seen black apartheid, in other words.
Okay, let's go to listen to the leaders of the Nama Herero people also coming out to, talk about their grievances.
When people are in possession of the land, and the German citizens that are also here. That is the theories. It's very, very impossible to resist such amount of money. We, the descendants, we want the real liberation, restoration.
Yeah, I initially opposed to the deal also, and of course I said it was not enough, especially the parts of the acceptance speech and the apology. I felt those 5 lines apology is definitely not enough. But you're about to say, any kamori waka for something like that. Is Namibia probably not demanding too much? 1.3 billion euros for developmental work in those affected areas over the course of 30 years, and of course an apology. What else can they probably ask for, or what else can they probably provide?
Now I want to ask, no matter how much Germany offers, it's going to be most inadequate as opposed to the lives that have been lost. This is genocide. They attempt to eliminate a race out of the human race, the earth. You can imagine how many lives were lost. You tell me how much Bill Gates is worth. You tell me how much the African richest man, Dangote, is worth. Then we can tell you that if Dangote had been slain, would he have been worth his estimates today. And so many lives in Namibia, you can place money into, upon what each of them may have become in future. And so the human life is precious. We can get money anywhere, but can you get life? And lives were lost, massacred. And when it was time to apologize, they were very economical with words. Will that have been sufficient to heal the wounds? Never will that will the wounds be healed. And for me, it is just a slap on the wrist to have given a paltry sum of money. No amount will be sufficient for a human life, let alone erase the Herero and the Nemers. I think they have not done anything in my own estimation. Like I said, it's just a tap, a slap on the wrist. It's nothing compared to the lives they wasted.
So if Nigeria as a state starts probably suing the United Kingdom's government to courts demanding for apology and repatriation for all they cursed us during the colonial era, and of course maybe Mozambique decides to sue Portugal, the likes of Mali, Senegal decides to sue France, and different countries sues their colonial master, sue Spain, and everybody. Are we not going to be throwing the world in chaos?
Well, if we were to do that and they were able to pay reparation, it would have been fair. But we don't even demand for reparation because in the past you recall one of
the giant of Africa.
Yeah, one of our own presidential aspirant, the late M.K. Abiola, whose memory we shall celebrate soon tomorrow, so to speak. Actually had it and actually flew the card that he was going to make reparation.
Do you think we should be demanding though?
Yeah, it's a right. There's every need. Now, if you hurt me, you have the right to.
The grievance of the Namibian chief coming out to say even all Namibians are not treated equally. So when the funds come in, there's high probability that it will still go to the pockets of the people that are treated as first-class citizens over other citizens.
Yeah, that's secondary. That's internal wrangling. But first, let the one who has done wrong apologize first, because the first line to peace building is to accept that you have, to own up that you have done wrong and apologize. You do not say, okay, I'm going to place.
But still, there are different measures. They organize scholarship for our people. They, do some aid programs like the USAID, of course, provides free medical care. Do some of these assisted projects, electrification, and everything. What else can we probably ask for?
You can ask how much that money that has been taken from the coffers of Germany, how much it really affected. It is nothing. It's just
1.3 billion.
Yeah, in the economy of Germany, you know what it is. You put that to human life. You can imagine. I just said how much our own Dangote is worth, how much Bill Gates is worth. Then let us put all that. You times or multiply that by the number of lives that were lost. You find out that human life is you can put a price to human life, whatever, no matter the amount. It's not worth it. Life is more precious than gold and the prices of pearls. So money can't equate human life. That said, the nature of the apology is secondary. For people who have cried to say, okay, if this money is paid, it may not go to the right channel. Of course, they have their own point, but that is secondary. Let us collectively fight a common enemy. The colonial masters did not do us a world of good. Today, Nigeria is yet to recover from the mishap, from the intervention, for the reckless and rude intrusion into Africa. You can imagine what they have. Our culture, everything was stolen away until today. The settled water of Africa, which these people disrupted, is yet to settle, and they are not even helping. They have not let us free. They have not set us free. You can imagine the problem we have. Well, too many problems of Africa caused by our uninvited intruders.
Well, I hope one day Africa will stop all this blame of course.
Now you could wonder. There's been argument that we could have come around of it, but you could imagine who invited them. They caused us trouble. It's like when you it's a scar that can't heal, and so Africa will have to leave, like you said. The earlier we get to know this and we're able to turn the corners, the better for us.
Okay, moving forward quickly. Yeah, the WHO and of course the Africa Center for Disease Control did warn us some couple of weeks ago that Africa should be careful. We might not be lucky in the latest wave of COVID-19, and of course that warning is beginning to materialize as South Africa officially declares the fact that they are now in the third wave of COVID in that country. Yeah, just like I said, South Africa officially claims that they have now entered the third wave. South Africa has officially entered its third wave of coronavirus infections, health authorities said, with rising caseloads and a sluggish vaccine rollout, fueling fears of a fresh strain on the health system. And of course, apart from South Africa coming out to confirm their own third wave of COVID-19, there's also another country in Africa, which is Uganda, as its hospital and of course health system keeps coming under immense pressure amidst a second spike in the second wave of COVID-19. Uganda is under pressure of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic as the East African nation hospitals feel the strain of a surge in cases across the country. So just like African CDC one, it's like these things are beginning to materialize. And I used to ask the question,
we must urgently increase vaccine production across the world, including in low and medium income countries. As we emerge from the worst of the pandemic, we need to build more robust pandemic.
Yeah, the voice of the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, there, telling us some things that we can try to do as African country or to do in the African continent to help to curb the spread of COVID-19. Of course, on the rise in Algeria, on the rise in Sudan, on the rise in Uganda, on the rise in South Africa once again, officially third wave. Should Nigeria be scared?
Well, we just have to be proactive. This is Africa, and you can imagine the speed at which the virus spreads. But we just have to make do with the precautionary measures when we adhere to them strictly. And basically, you see, why it seems Africa, Nigeria, and some other neighboring countries in Africa and surrounding neighbors in Nigeria are a bit careless, so to speak, with this warning. It's because the first wave came, the second wave came, and Mother Luck and nature actually was on our side, and we were able to come out victorious against the virus. And so when you tell them this, the third wave, they begin to see, what are you telling me? Because look around, you scarcely, in every 10, probably you find one using the nose mask. Be that as it may, that nature has really intervened in our cause, but I think there's every need for us to also not throw cautions to the wind. Let's be proactive, let's be on top of the game, like some of these politicians prefer on top of the issue. Truth be told, we need to be proactive because they say precaution is better than cure. So I implore our listeners to please adhere strictly to the precautionary measures. There's need to take precautions always.
Yeah, wise words, and from David Agajima, of course, that gospel according to David. African leaders and of course Africans, listen. Yeah, let's leave the African continent and of course go to other part of the world. Time is fast spent already, and try to see if we can salvage one or two news from the outside of the African continent. Of course. Yeah, quickly, this first news I would try to take first is a rather funny one. I saw the headline over the course of the week. I couldn't believe it until I actually saw the video. Yeah, the French president, Emmanuel Macron, actually got slapped in public. Yeah, sounds funny, right? Yeah, French President Emmanuel Macron was slapped in the face on Tuesday by a man in a crowd of onlookers while on a walkabout in southern France. Video of the incident showed. Actually, moving forward quickly because of our time fast spent, the incident took place while Macron was on a visit to the Drôme region in southeastern France, where he met with onlookers and students to talk about how life is returning to normal after the COVID-19 pandemic. In the video circulating on the social media, Macron, dressed in his shirt sleeve, could be seen walking towards a crowd of well-wishers who are behind a metal barrier. The French president reached out his hand to greet one man in a green t-shirt with glasses and face mask. The man could be heard shouting out, "Down with Macaronia, Abbas la macaroni," that's the French word, and then delivered a slap to Macron's face. Yeah, I have the video here with me. Unfortunately, because it's not in format, you won't be able to see. But let's see if we can paint a picture of what actually transpired on that ground. Yeah, this was the moment where he got slapped, and of course his secret agent and bodyguard had to pull him out of that particular venue and whisk him away to safety. Yeah, but something like this happening, interesting, well, not interesting, it's an insult to assault a public official. But you blame African leaders when they are going about, they move around in very large entourage. If a president of France who we see them as learned people and of course very educated people that ought to know better could slap their own presidents, how much more we here in Africa? So looking at the event of things, do you blame African presidents for deciding to go with the large pool of security men that they go around with? I saw the video, and Emmanuel Macron had just about only 3 bodyguards. The 3 were behind him, and he was walking in front, shake the student freely, even wanted to hug, and the slap just came both, and it was one of the bodyguard or his security detail had to walk to him and pull him out quickly. African leaders, how many of them can walk
freely? Now they wouldn't want freely because they know they are not friends of the people. You wouldn't want, of course, you wouldn't want to walk to your enemy's house and think you will come out freely.
But when they come canvassing for votes, they fry akara with us. They, of course, eat pop-off in the public, eat maize and agbado and everything.
Yes, and also tell us they have no shoes. It is pretty sad that that's the irony of African politics, especially in this part of the world where we create.
Okay, let's round it up with this. The man who slapped French President Macron, he was actually jailed for 4 months. And a French court on Thursday sentenced the man who slapped President Emmanuel Macron across the face this week to a prison term of 18 months, and 14 of which are suspended. And Damien Tarrier, that's his name, a 28-year-old medieval history enthusiast, has been in custody since the assault on Tuesday, which a prosecutor called absolutely unacceptable and an act of deliberate violence. Tarrier attacked Macron while the French president was shaking hands with members of the public, just like I said earlier. And Tarrier said that several days ahead of Macron's visit to the region, he had thought about throwing an egg or a cream tart at the president, but added that the slap was not premeditated. I think that Macron represents very neatly the decay of our country, he told the court, according to BFM TV. If I had challenged Macron to a duel at sunrise, I doubt if he would have responded. Tarrier faced a charge of assault against a public official and an offense that carries a maximum sentence of 3 years in jail and a 45,000 euro fine.
Well, you can see these people have decided to take it the right way. They tread the path of honor. You did something that was wrong, assaulted a public official, so to speak, the number one person in France. And so the court of law is taking its toll. 4 months imprisonment. You see, it's a fair judgment considering this level of civilization that they want to find out what led to it. But when this to happen in Africa, I'm sure the man would not live to tell the story. He would have been killed instantly. The butt of the gun that would have been used to smash him, he would have died immediately. But unfortunately, these people have shown us that at least we are all equal before the face of the law. No African man would have tried this to a black African leader and live to tell the story. I stand to be corrected. I need to see that leader in Africa. Probably the one would have thought would have been in Mandela. Thank God it's no longer. The ones we have don't care about the people. They assume this larger-than-life attitude. Good, Damien Tarrell has been sentenced 4 months. The law is taking its course. See how fast things go. We're ready to be the person who, if not killed instantly, will rot in jail. It's a lesson for our leaders. Though we condemn the action of Damien, you don't assault people in public or wherever. It's condemnable. But we also have to salute the intelligence and the civilization at which this was treated. A lesson for us.
Yeah, a lesson for us. Another wise word from, of course, David Akajima. Our African leaders are listening and, of course, are picking, jotting down one or two things. Let's round up with this particular news from the United States. Yeah, Kamala Harris in the eye of the storm. But before I bring you the news that has put Kamala Harris in the eye of the storm, let's take a quick trip to Guatemala with Kamala Harris and get to listen to what has actually led to her being in the eye of the storm.
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come. The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our border. There are legal methods by which migration can and should occur. But we, as one of our priorities, will discourage illegal migration. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back.
Yeah, of course, you heard there the voice of the Vice President of the United States, Senator Kamala Harris. Of course, she has been put in charge of the migration and, of course, the southern border wall, the influx of the migrants from the southern part of the country trying to make it into the United States. And, of course, she made an official trip to Guatemala earlier this week, coming out to say, don't come to our borders. We'll try as much as possible to preserve, and of course we'll send it back to very large extent. Now, the flash lagging, it's coming from members of our own party saying, and so of course the members of the Republic saying, this is what Donald Trump represented pre-2016, and when he came on board, he went on, building the wall and turning back illegal migrants. And of course, the Democrats kept saying, no, it's inhumane. And I mean, let these people come in. They are running from different crises from their country. Let them come in. Let's try to ease them into the society, blah, blah. And now, you are now echoing Donald Trump's antics, and of course, everything he stood for pre-2016 and of course pre the Biden presidency. Hypocrisy or probably because she's been put in charge of the migration crisis, now the reality is staring at her in the face and she has no option and say, don't come out to my problem, stay back in your country and let me fix this one that I have on my hands already.
Now, you see, it's one thing to have the human feeling, from the outside point of view. Now she's inside. She's seen it, and she must make statements, and these are political statements, of course, well guided, and so one won't say it's hypocrisy, but it's what is telling them in the face is the reality. They need to manage the borders and the influx of immigrants in there, and so her hands though may have been tied by the office she occupies, so it's different voice from the voice that cried initially that condemned Donald Trump. So, but we just hope it will be amicably resolved and they will have everything. It's a pity our time is fast spent, and so.
Yeah, say your BYs to people, and let's of course get ourselves out of the studio.
Yeah, it's David Akajima wishing you the very best of today and have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, my name is Ajbala Salme. Rounding off with this piece of news, I'd like to say congratulations to, of course, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on the birth of their new baby girl. Lilibet Diana is her name, and of course they welcome and they made the announcement earlier this week. Well, Echo more like University always say, just Echo yeah, and just give us the day so that we can come and eat naming jollof rice. I'm Ajbala Salme. Have a wonderful weekend ahead of you. COVID-19 still very much out there. Try to stay safe and of course maintain all those precautionary measures. Sam Ajbala signing out. Over.